Hi, folks, to everyone joining in. This is Emil from Helpjuice. Just want to let you know that we're still waiting in on some people to join us. If you hear these bing, bing, bings, that's just people joining us. So if you can, please just to be a bit more patient. We have to start a little bit early, and sometimes it takes time for people to, find the link, get download the app. So yeah, just hold on with us, and we'll be starting in shortly. Thank you. Hi, folks. We're just about to start. Just again, waiting on for those, last minute attendees, so we'll give them another minute or so, and then I'm going to be starting this presentation. And with me today is going to be Craig from Vidyard. I'm going to make sure to introduce Craig, and at the end of our webinar, we're going to have a nice special surprise for you guys. And I'm not talking about the new update that we pushed out, as you may have seen on your dashboard already. I'm talking about a different type of surprise. So I'm going to keep that a surprise. And yeah, let's give it another minute or so for everyone else to join on in. People are constantly joining in. So yes, give people another minute, and we should be starting. Again, my name is Emil. I am the CEO of Helpjuice, and today we have Craig from Vidyard. He's going to help us with understanding how they're succeeding with knowledge-centered support and video-enabled knowledge bases. Craig is a really cool guy. I really enjoy spending time with him. In fact, I enjoy spending time with every customer, but Craig has a very unique personality, which I think is going to make this webinar not only educational, but also very fun and exciting for all of us. So if we can, let's go ahead and just thank Craig for being audacious enough to share all this knowledge that they've accumulated, rather than just storing it in his brain and locking it in forever. So again, Craig, thank you from me and all the Helpjuice customers for sharing your knowledge with us entirely for free. I know you guys spent a lot of time digging in on KCS and understanding how to utilize this. So I do appreciate it, Craig.
That's a lot to live up to, Emil, but I hope to be able to do it for everyone here.
Very nice. We're going to go ahead and another minute, and we're going to kick off. Okay. One more minute, people. And Chris French has also joined us. Hi, Chris. It's very nice to be able to connect with all of you kind of in this environment. We should do these things more often. Yes, Chris. You are muted in this webinar. It's only going to be Craig and I. So yes, we're just going to go ahead and wait. Like I said, just another minute, I guess 30 seconds roughly, and then we're going to be kicking this off. So it's 10:05 p.m. here in Sarajevo. I know we have people from all around the world. We have people from Lexington, Kentucky. Joe joining us from Lexington, Kentucky. I love Kentucky. Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Very nice. We have people all around the world. We have people from Mexico, Canada, Kentucky. Well, that's not really. I guess that's just in the U.S. I'll just say U.S. Craig's from near Toronto, I believe. So yes, 20. Cool. Okay, 20 seconds, and we're gonna kick this thing off. I'm not sure if everyone's gonna be able to join us once we kick this thing off. That's why I'm waiting another 20 seconds before we kick this thing off. So 10:04, 10:05, we're ready for takeoff. And I'm just going to go ahead and get a glass of water just before I begin my talking. So be right back, folks, and then we're going to get started. All right, folks, I'm back, and I think we're ready to kick this thing off. I'm sorry to have you folks waiting. There's some people that have been waiting for 20 minutes. So I do appreciate everyone's patience on this. Believe me, Craig and I, we did not expect this many people to start coming in this early. So we're definitely excited. I've kind of ran out of breath running around the office trying to get this thing. So yes, I'm going to go ahead and start the webinar, start recording, and we should be good to go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and unmute Craig. Craig, just to let you know, I'm going to go ahead and leave you muted as I see it's muted on your phone. So whenever you're good to go, I'm going to let you know, and then we're going to be switching off. Can everyone see my screen? Just want to go and make sure this happens before I start presenting. I remember Eldon from Helpjuice once started presenting, and he's presenting. The guy's 2 minutes into it, and then I remember people saying, Eldon, we can't see your screen. So I've definitely learned a lot from Eldon. So okay, cool. Carol says yes. Adriana, yes. Paige, yes. Perfect. I see succeeding with KCS and video. Well, Tiffany, I guess you should be the one presenting. You already see us. I'm kidding, of course. We are all good. Cool. So everyone sees the same screen. That's awesome. All right, folks. Well, my name is Emil. You've probably heard that name probably 50 times already. And I'm the founder of Helpjuice. And today we're going to be talking about succeeding with KCS. And KCS stands for Knowledge Centered Support and Video-Enabled Knowledge Base. And this is going to be a joint webinar with Vidyard. They're a customer of ours, 200 plus people, really successful company from Canada, and quite honestly, quite young. They're a 7-year-old company, and so they've been really successful in what they do, and in support thanks to Craig. So we're going to be talking today about this webinar. Well, we're not talking. We're going to be attending it rather. And for all you people that are listening in on it, the first question you're probably wondering is, why am I even here? Why is Emil wasting my time? And I assure you, I'm not wasting your time, and definitely Craig is not wasting your time. Today we're going to be really understanding the core principles behind knowledge-centered support. It's a lot of theory, but a lot of practice. So who this is meant for is anybody looking to scale their support within their organization, and this mostly applies to external knowledge bases. Although I'm going to let Craig, kind of fill us in later on how they, use their internal knowledge base with KCS and everything, and and basically what Craig is going to be going over is, kind of the theory on what KCS is, how to apply it, how they track it, how they're successful in Helpjuice, and really going in and in deep. Trust me, I wouldn't invite Craig over if I didn't know Craig is the man to do this. And Craig has been so gracious with giving out all these details and information in a way where it's just actionable. So you're not going to be wasting your time here. I promise you that, people. Again, who I am, here goes my name again, Emil, for the 51st time. I'm the CEO of Helpjuice. And we've been the leaders in the knowledge management space for 7 years now. Our story has been featured in Al Jazeera, Forbes, and TechCrunch. And we're able to do all this with a small team of 12 people. We choose to be small because we're all nimble, and all our clients know us personally in a way. Not in person, but personally because we really take control over every knowledge base as if it were our own, and we really want to make our customer successful. And Craig, the beautiful man here, he's the support manager at Vidyard. He is the man that brought KCS and the system of KCS to Vidyard, which is an online video platform for businesses. Vidyard, like I mentioned before, has 200 plus employees, and I think he's a secret rock star that he hasn't revealed to us this yet. So yeah, that's a bit about Craig. And now I'm going to go ahead and jump onto Craig. We're going to go ahead and have Craig set up his screen and start sharing. So Craig, I'm going to go ahead and change presenter to you if you're ready.
Yeah, it's not letting me. Here we go. Yeah, perfect.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that introduction, Emil. As I said earlier, I think it's going to be our lot to live up to. Everyone can see my screen, I hope. Emil?
Yes, Craig, you are good to go.
Okay, so yeah, so as Emil said, my name is Craig Stoss. Welcome. If you guys were here for some of the preamble before we got kicked off, I said that I believe a lot in practicality in these presentations, not theory. So I'm going to talk a lot about the practical way that I brought KCS to Vidyard. This is actually my second implementation of KCS in my career, and I think both have been pretty successful. So I'm hoping that I can give you some knowledge. One of the key things I think I'll point out is that some people look at knowledge center support. It's quite a big standard. You know, you could take 3-5-day certification courses on this stuff. I'm here to tell you that I'm not going to show you 3 to 5 days worth of material. I'm going to tell you the 2 or 3 key principles along with the success factors that I put into our team to make sure that you can be successful with your implementation. So just briefly, I wanted to talk a little bit about what Vidyard is. So we're the new generation video analytics platform for business. As Emil said, we're bringing video to all aspects of your business. Most people, when they think about video, they think about the marketing use case. Oh, I produced an advertisement and I want to know who's watching my advertisement. Vidyard does this across all aspects of your business. A sales product where we have our entire business development team and sales team using video to prospect and to sell across the entire funnel and life cycle of customer engagement. Customer support, I think there's an obvious place there for as part of this presentation on how you can use video in your knowledge base, how you can use video to better succeed with your customers. And of course, I have a global team, and to communicate with them effectively, as opposed to emails that you never know if they'll be read or filtered automatically. I create videos for my team on a weekly basis that describe the priorities and for the next week or whatever it might be, share information, training, new processes, things like that. And then I can actually use the video analytics platform we provide to tell who's watched it. If someone's on vacation, make sure they've caught up and seen the video. And so I understand how my team is engaging with me on a global basis. So that's a little bit about what we do. We are a software company, but KCS doesn't necessarily have to apply to software. I've tried to use examples throughout the presentation that aren't software based because I think that it's a one use case, and I want to make sure that people understand that it applies to all aspects of the business. I hope we have some time for questions. So if you are in a non-software space, you know, and you don't see how this applies, please feel free to ask that question. So why are we here? So when I got to this organization, I saw some problems. We had an outdated knowledge base with a different vendor than Helpjuice. It was not branded. We had no method of promoting it, and there was no growth to it. It was staying completely static. So it wasn't very useful for our customers, and as such, we had very little engagement with it. We did have a single go-to person for everything technical, which meant that we relied on that person solely as a guru. And if he wasn't in town, if he was on vacation, we relied on tribal knowledge and going and talking to people directly. And that worked pretty well when we were a company of 30, 40 people, when you needed to, you know, everyone kind of knew everything that was going on. But as we scaled up, you know, we ran into all sorts of troubles that this causes. So what that also meant is that knowledge was dispersed among many systems as well as people. So for example, sales had a system where they kind of had their FAQ. Our billing team would get questions and they didn't have a system, so they were answering everything manually. Support had this, you know, ugly knowledge base. There was a sales enablement tool. There was a CSM tool that they had kind of a growing list of information. And, you know, that's a big problem because now you can't access information across all your functions of your business. Now, from a support perspective, you know, our business is answering customers' questions and concerns and solving cases. So when we get repeat questions, it's killing our efficiency by having to write a custom email to every person we speak to. And that's what speaks to no case deflection and constant repeat of questions without case deflection. We also had no owner of knowledge. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what that means in the next slide. But essentially what that means to me is that knowledge was just spread out and no one had a strategy of how to harness this and better making sure that internally and externally everyone had access to the same information. And then the big problem for me is this last bullet point where while all of the above was going on, we released a brand new product and we started expanding our customer base quite rapidly, which is a good problem to have, except that within 1 quarter we expanded our caseload that was coming into support by 90%, and within 1 year we would reach 130%. And that is those numbers scared me because I wasn't going to get a budget to make my team double the size to cover a double the load. So I needed to figure out a way to be more effective. And the real solution to that is KCS. So Knowledge Center Support is a standard. You can be certified on it, and I put the URL there. I want to be very clear that this is not a KCS training course. I want to give you a couple of key principles that you can take away tomorrow to your businesses, implement KCS as a solution to better enable the success of your internal or external stakeholders. And I'm going to discuss both of those principles on the next slides. We chose Helpjuice to enable these components because I felt that they understood the process of KCS well. I felt that they were willing to work with us to fill the gaps that they did have, and they had solutions to integrate into all of our systems, which, as you'll see on the next slide, is actually one of the key elements, in my opinion, to KCS. So that's why we went with Helpjuice after an RFP process to 5 or 6 different knowledge-based vendors. So let me start talking about the first principle of KCS. The first principle is to integrate the creation and reuse of knowledge into your problem-solving process. And this is vital. The idea that this becomes part of the natural process and workflow of how you present knowledge and create knowledge and use knowledge. So in order to do that, I needed to first off get some buy-in that someone needed to own knowledge. And because I was the guy spearheading this, I nominated myself. And I went around to all the different rooms, businesses and functions, and actually I stood up at one of our company-wide town hall meetings, and I presented a similar presentation as you're seeing here as to what the benefits are. You know, I said to the finance team, you get billing questions all the time. How much time do you waste responding to billing, emails to billings@vidyard.com with the same answer of here's where you input your credit card information, here's how you fill out an invoice. I went to this customer success team and I said, how many times do you answer the question, where's the login button, or I forgot my password? None of these things were done in a repeatable way, and a team of 15, 20 people wasting seconds a day adds up over time when these questions are constantly repeated. And I said, I want to own this for you. I will create a system where all of this information, both internal and external, can go together, where we have one location that we search to be able to provide answers on a repeatable way, an effective way. So the second thing that I did was I said, knowledge creation needs to become everyone's responsibility. And the phrasing I use, and this is probably not a KCS Bible here, but is never answer the same question twice. And you look around any of your businesses, you must have departments where the same questions, the repeating questions come in all the time, and you have a person, a physical person or people that answer those questions repeatedly. That mentality needs to go away, and you need to take the mentality that everyone is responsible for ensuring that every piece of up-to-date knowledge is shared for everyone else to use. So this is a Helpjuice screenshot where I started out with 7 active authors on the team, and this is within the span of a few weeks. They had actually updated 109 questions as part of their natural workflow of their cases. This was not special effort. I did not hire new people. This was the team that we were using that were active authors within the Helpjuice product, updating content as part of their day-to-day work. The next concept is the new versus known, and this is something that helps you understand the success of documenting your cases in real time. So for example, in support, that is us helping to answer cases that are logged through our customer management platform. And so the idea is that we measure the reusing of articles that are already posted. So you start off, if you started with 0 knowledge in a shared knowledge base, everything is new. 100% of your knowledge starts out as new. And as you start documenting answers in real time, that percentage goes down, and your percentage of known, which started at 0, goes back up. And we measure that reuse in what's called a new versus known analysis. And on a couple slides from now, I actually show how Helpjuice aids you in that understanding. And then finally, this is the key aspect to this whole tenet, is the process must allow for it. This is not a side job. This is not a brand new hire. This is not a repurposing of your technical writer. This is going to a team of people and saying, as part of your day job, when you have a question asked to you, your role is to search your knowledge base to see if that question has been answered previously. And if it has, send that information to your customer. But if it has not, it is to create that entry into your knowledge base so that the next time that question is asked, you have the answer available to you and the team is enabled to answer that question. And because it's public, it doesn't matter whether that is a support team creating that knowledge and the CSM team using it or the sales team using it. And I'll show some examples of that on a future slide. And another thing that I think that people focus too much on is KCS has a prescription around making sure that the quality of your articles is all the same. You know, I've seen it down to the level where there's actually prescriptions on when to use italics, bullet points, underline, you know, things like that. And in reality, that's probably important as long as it meets your branding guidelines. But I would argue that in KCS, people don't necessarily care how they're reading the knowledge. They don't care about the italics and the underline. They're more there for the information. And so quantity should be your key to success. Getting knowledge out there quickly in a professional manner, following some set of guidelines. But you need to understand what is working. Are you engaging with your users? How are you not engaging with your users? Do we need to pivot or change direction? That's the key here, and you can only do that by getting a large critical mass of content out to your customers. So that's tenet one. Tenet number two is the evolution loop based on the demand and the usage. So I'll start talking about a couple different types of evolution. The first is the content must be in the customer voice. And I always like to talk about it in the sense of cars. I'm not very good with cars. I had to go to YouTube to ask it how to change my air filter just a couple weeks ago. But it's the same thing. I wouldn't necessarily know what's wrong with my engine if something is wrong. So I'm not going to know to search for how to change a head gasket because I may not even know what a head gasket is. All I might know is that my engine is making a noise. So I maybe would search for my engine is making a noise, and one of the potential solutions that arrives is, you know, you might need to change your head gasket, and that article would explain to me how I would know how to do that and if I should do that. And so what that really means is that you can ask different questions different ways. So articles may need to have more than one title, or they may need to have keywords that can be used interchangeably within the searching. And Helpjuice really enables us to be very good at that. This diagram on the right-hand side where it says 1,236 queries for the word player is a way for us to see what queries are being searched in the voice of the customer and if they are finding articles. And if we look at this list and do some analytics here and see which of these articles, these search queries are not returning results, but reading it as a human, we know the intention of the end user, we can start to fine-tune our keywords and our knowledge-based titles so that people are finding the right content when they're searching for it. That's vitally important to evolving your content to be more accessible to a wider breadth of people. The second part of the evolution is that there is a concept in KCS of trying to read an article before you send it to ensure that it's up to date. So you might look at an article to see if the screenshots are newest UI in the software world. Is this a new model of car that we need to have a different style number of a air filter? So what you're seeing here is my teammate clicking on an article, noticing there was a change. So he goes in to make this with the split of roles between reviewers, authors, and administrators. And the final point here is around grouping like articles together into informative docs. So inside the evolution, if I go back to the example of my engine is making noise, you might have an article called how to change a head gasket. You might have how to tighten a spark plug. You might have an article of how to tighten the battery cable, and all of those can cause problems, or how to change your oil filter, again, maybe causes engine noise. I said I don't know much about cars, so I mean, this just shows it. But the idea is that you might have all these separate articles, and as part of the evolution, you need to gather them up. And you may not know that as you're writing it as the end user. So I'll use an example that we just recently ran into. Our product is a secure product, but there are 5 or 6 different types of security used for different purposes. So we had 6 articles that each listed a different type of security and how to set that security up. But what we found is that users were searching for, how do I secure my video, and not finding any of those articles because they didn't know what type of security they were looking for. So we would create an evolution article that would group these together and describe the pros, the cons, why you might want to use this type of security, and give you a rounded picture of all the aspects of, in our case, software that you might want to read. And then from there, you pick the exact article that best meets your needs and follow those articles down to conclusion. And that's really it. And I don't want to make it sound easy, but if I took these 6 bullet points that are on the past 2 slides, that's all I really started with my team here in Kitchener and Kitchener-Waterloo to start the KCS process at Vidyard. So what did I see as keys to success to this? I would say the biggest #1 thing to make this successful in an organization is to make it part of your culture. You need to look, in my case, my team are technical people. They love working on highly technical cases. And having them have to tell an end user, 10 times a day how to change their password is not a technical issue. It's a waste of the education and the skill set of the team members I have on my team. So have an article that if either the user finds through a search, and if they don't, they come to us and ask the question, we can quickly fire off that article without having to type a specific email that contains all of the details of how to change your password. So I made it very clear that the purpose of this was so that the people that are doing this work can work on more interesting problems, probably where you want your teams focusing their energy. Measure attachment and creation rates. Again, go and celebrate these things. So the chart on the right is literally above the desks of our support team here. And I screenshot this and send this, take a picture and send this globally on a monthly basis so people see and can celebrate the success of our knowledge base. It doesn't have to be fancy. This is card printouts from our printer. You could do whatever you want to, but make sure you celebrate it. In the middle, I have a video that I took when we surpassed a major milestone of doubling the size of the knowledge base in less than 2 quarters. That was less than 4 months. This was an incredible milestone, and we saw some of the major impacts, and I'll talk about them in a little bit, of what this had done. And I made sure that I created a video and sent it to our entire company so they could celebrate with us the success. And then on the left-hand side, this culture isn't just the tech support culture or the author culture. The culture is of the whole company. So I use this most read questions analytic that comes from Helpjuice to help guide me in picking out where problem areas in our product are that I can go and say, hey, development, no one really truly understands how to set up. In this case, the top one is getting started with our Go Video for Outlook products. And that could be a training issue that we need to speak to the training team. That could be a development issue and that the product is too complex. It could be a documentation issue and that we're not providing the right documentation. There's many causes of that, but I ingrain that into our culture that, we take this data seriously and we use it across all functions to inform everyone of what we could do to make our customers more successful. The other thing to do is measure the deflection of the time saved. So if your people are not working on repeated cases, they're working on something else. And Helpjuice has a couple of graphs to help us understand that. So the graph on the left shows me that of 12,000 total searches, 10,000 people found answers. Presumably that means they did not contact us. That's fantastic news to us, right? If every one of those customers contacted us, we would be in trouble. We wouldn't be able to handle the load effectively. And the bottom metric, 28 people contacted support, those cases are really important to us because what that shows is that 28 people did not find what they wanted in the knowledge base, and we need to fill that knowledge base gap so that those people then, the next time they come to us, can solve their problems on their own. And on the right, as I mentioned, is the new versus known analysis, which shows that if I look at this number, what's that? That's 1,350 cases. Only 107 of them are new, which means that we are on a 13-to-1 ratio, documenting a lot of repeated questions, but they're still coming to us. So what this tells me is that the people aren't actually searching our knowledge base effectively. We're not promoting the knowledge base enough, because that number should be a lot lower, because the cases for known shouldn't be coming to us. We shouldn't be having to answer known cases, because they should be able to self-help. So again, analytics can help us shape and better our environment. The next key to success, have the team members run this program themselves. This is something that I truly believe in. They are the experts here. Let them be those experts. Let them take on the technical challenge of ensuring and testing that the knowledge is correct. I'm not going to be a great person at reviewing content. I'm not technical enough to be able to review content and say, is that technically accurate? And it's also easier for people to work together as a team when there's not the boss hanging over their head. This is something that I truly believe in, and we've fully embraced here. I have very little hands-on direction of the KCS project now within our organization. The next thing is promote the shit out of your knowledge base. And I mean that every opportunity, promote this to your people. Nudge your customers to your articles. As opposed to just copying and pasting the content from your knowledge base, send the link. Maybe you augment it with a little bit of more information, because it's a tier 1 customer, you want to give that TLC. But make sure that you say, hey, this is already documented. You can find this for yourself. You can help yourself. Customers want to self-help. Integrate this into all of your channels. So this is where, again, I talked about Helpjuice was very important to us. And the main reason is because they had integrations into the tools that we use to run our support organization, our case management tool, our chat tools, those types of things. And the other thing is this is not just about support. This is about your entire company. And so I put it here what we call kudos within our company. These are things that get posted through our HR team that recognize teams of people or an individual for doing something amazing. And I'm not going to read this, but essentially this is a CSM, a member of our customer success team, who basically saying we significantly helped him to succeed in a last-minute discovery call with a customer, because of the 40 points the customer wanted to solve, all but 3 of them were in the knowledge base already, and he didn't have to spend that extra effort to learn something new, to go and talk to someone, to try it himself. And I think that truly shows that there is a success bit here across all functions. And the second screenshot there up to the top right is actually using the Helpjuice APIs. We have integrated the search capability of the Knowledge Center into our support page. So the first thing people do when they go to vidyard.com/support is they actually see a box that says, how can we help you? Type in your answer. And we see a huge uptick in people just typing in the answer. And if I scroll down one page down on this web page screenshot, you would find our phone number. And so I'm really amazed that people completely ignore the phone number and use this self-help, because it's how people want to learn. Think about yourselves and how you want to learn. You want to solve your own problems. You don't want to have to call someone. And finally, I talk about this as part of customer and employee onboarding. When an employee starts, make them aware of this knowledge base. They don't need to go and learn from tribal knowledge. They can learn from the knowledge base itself. They can self-help themselves as they grow inside their skill sets with the company. And the customer onboarding, I think, is obvious. It just helps guide them towards where they can get the information. And finally, I want to talk a little bit about the video enablement. This is a piece that we added on a few months ago, probably about 5-6 months ago, that we have seen an incredible amount of success in. Now we're a video business, so this is something that we're doing as a whole company, is going video first and creating our own video-enabled business. But what we found through research is that customers want video content. They want to be able to follow through a set of steps. It reaches a wider set of customers. I've written a couple blog articles on this if you want to look at them. But because of captioning, you can do different languages. You can put accessibility and descriptive video into your videos so they're more clear. It's an amazing way to help train people. And knowledge retention is higher with video. This quote is actually from Forbes magazine, where they found that textual content is 10%, you're 10% likely to remember, but if you go to video content, you're 95% likely to remember. Again, I think that just shows that the video has a power here. And I'm a huge proponent of the Technology Services Industry Association. If you are in technology that do anything with managed services, field services, support, customer success, education services, I highly recommend you check that company out. They are a thought leader in the industry, and they have named this video, and specifically video within a support, education, and customer services like customer success, as a huge trend in the next coming year. It's something that's taking over the market. So that's kind of the main keys to success. So what is this? Oh, and I wanted to show a quick slide. This is a little bit of self-promotion, but I wanted to show you where video fits into it in case it's not clear. So on the left, I have an article. This is the Helpjuice article. And you can see I don't replace the article with just a video. I complement the text. I don't replace it. It's branded so that you control the experience of the user when they're looking at the video. And that content is reusable in multiple places, whether it be through a hub-like forum or Twitter. You can use that video in multiple places. And then you can also engage with your customers through annotations and drop-downs. So in this particular example, you can see there's a definition of a word. We popped up a window where you define the word as you're talking. And on the right-hand side, you'll see this video actually, the steps change depending on what browser you're using. So I put an annotation here where you can select your browser and jump to the right part of the video that actually talks to your specific browser. Again, being more highly engaging and specific, and not having your users have to search for their data. And that's how the uptick in this is amazing. And I'm going to show the results on the next slide. So we've been running this program for 8 months. I started working with Helpjuice about 10 months ago. And by the time we got everything sorted out, we've been live for 8 months. We have seen 135% increase in customer-facing content. This has resulted in 20 times the number of searches resulting in a view, 20 times the number of searches resulting from customers going to this website. That we used to be at 600 visitors per quarter. We're now over 12,000 per quarter. It's huge, and it saved us a ton of effort inside our support organization. We've seen this result in a 37% decrease in time to resolution from when support is contacted. And what that means is that when customers are contacting us, regardless or not whether they tried to self-help themselves, we're seeing two-thirds of the time to resolve their cases because of the significant number of articles we have pre-documented and under that known category. This is known knowledge. I talked about the caseload rising 130%. We're seeing that at a much more sustainable rate. You know, we're now growing because of customer growth versus knowledge gaps. You know, as a product, especially in the software world, gets more complex, or as you have different product lines in your businesses, you know, there's always a knowledge gap. We're filling that knowledge gap quicker, and we're only growing because of customer growth. And as I talked about on the previous slide, 12 out of every 14 cases that we get already has a known article written. We also use this as a way to ramp up new hires more effectively. As we said, we bring this part of the employee onboarding, and I have a team that's in the Asia Pac region that I've hired a significant number of new people to recently, and they are able to solve more cases faster because they don't have to learn something the first time. The basic cases they're getting are solved for them already, and they can learn in real time as they progress through their onboarding. Vidyard has a net promoter score of 38, which in the technology industry is pretty decent. If you don't know what net promoter score is, I can touch on that, but I would say that's a side topic. I'm happy to talk about that in the question period. Our customer knowledge-based satisfaction is 82% overall, and 90 with our highest tier customers. And I feel like that is a function of the fact that our highest tier customers have people dedicated to this, whose job it is to understand and work with our platform. And so they're going in and looking for information, and they can read technical articles and solve more stuff by themselves. Whereas our lower tier customers, generally smaller, may not have that technical expertise, and maybe struggle a bit more with finding what they're looking for. 37% of our knowledge base is covered in video, meaning that 37% of our articles have video on them, and that corresponds really nicely to 30% of our knowledge-based searches actually results in a video view. That to me shows that there is a direct want or desire for video within a knowledge base, because the correlation between that has definitely been there the entire time since we started this program. So overall, this has been a huge success. Helpjuice has been instrumental and helped us with different bug fixes and feature requests that have really grown our ability to use the product. And we feel that we have a pretty good setup using just these 2 or 3 basic principles that I would argue can be used in any type of role, and certainly can be used or implemented very quickly. This is not something that's going to take you a ton of budget. Just for transparency's sake, I sent 2 people on I didn't send them, I booked them on a 1-day remote webinar training course for KCS. And that was about the only budget I spent on this besides the tool of Helpjuice. It's a very quick thing to get up and running, and yeah, I hope this was useful. I love talking to people. You know, I run a thought leadership group for technical support in my region, and part of that is just meeting people and learning about what other people are doing. So feel free to send me a note if you need anything, any more information, or tweet me. Happy to connect on LinkedIn as well, that type of stuff. But for now, I think I'll turn it back over to Emil and see if there's been any questions coming in on the chat. And I think we have about 20 more minutes that I can work with on questions.
For sure, Craig. This was one of the better webinars. In fact, probably one of the best webinars I've been in in my life, especially around support or anything close to a knowledge base. You know, Steele's had a question, and I think this is a very good question, and that might not be easy to answer. But his initial question is, how do you judge customer satisfaction, or rather, how do you judge it? How do you measure it, customer satisfaction, with your KBer? So that's what Steele is wondering.
So that's a great question. So I'm a big believer in engaging with customers very frequently. I've been here now for about 5 quarters, I'll say, and I have run 4 surveys once per quarter over my tenure here. And starting 1 quarter after, so we've done 2 surveys now since we started this program. We've had a question specifically: A, have you used our knowledge base? And B, were you able to self-help yourself without contacting support using the knowledge base? And we actually had a third question that was, did you use video within the knowledge base? And that was actually around 80%. 80% of people that responded said they used video within the knowledge base. So that's how we're measuring it. It isn't the best measure, of course, but we do this survey to a wide variety of our customers. We do a query based on previous contacts, whether they be from sales, customer success, or support, and we pick a huge list, and we get about 20% response rate, which I think is high. But it's great. It's good high, but it seems high when you talk about industry standards. And this is just a question that we've asked them. So I'm judging this purely based on that question.
Fantastic. And correct, we had another question coming on in earlier, and that was it deliberate to only have the search box and no example questions when you visit the Vidyard knowledge base?
Interesting enough, if you look closely here, I'm wrong. I thought it did have 2 sample questions. I think we might have changed the design on that. I think we used to have under here the top 2 questions that were asked. Mm-hmm. That you caught me with my foot in my mouth now. We used to have below that box the top 2 questions asked, so that you could click directly on that. But I guess it's not there now. I'll actually take that away as something I need to look into. So.
For sure.
I would argue you should do it, yes, is the answer to the question. I just apparently have not.
For sure. That was from Paige at kite.ai. Paige asked that question. Alejandra is asking, how do you determine, and this is a good one for you, Craig, how do you determine the target of articles to be made? There
is none. I mean, the short answer is there's no target here. This is a never-ending process. This is I picked milestones. So, for example, we wanted to double the knowledge base size within 2 quarters to prove its value. So that was a milestone. But that was pretty arbitrary. I could have said tripled. I just based on our caseload, based on some rudimentary metrics, I thought doubling was a good metric. I am goaling my team on, when we talked about attachment rates, I've goaled the team at 90% attachment rate, which means that 90% of the cases come in must have either a new or a known article attached to them. You'll never hit 100% because there are cases that are so specific that you can't write an article. They're just so, that this customer is the only customer that would ever run into this situation. So you wouldn't document something like that. You wouldn't document things that have proprietary or security implications, for example. But I felt 90% was good. We're hovering around 87. In fact, I got the report this morning that kind of auto-generates for me, and we're hovering around 87% attachment rate. So I say to answer that question, I would say I would goal on the reasonableness of your data set that's valid to you. If you have a small product, maybe start out and just goal yourself on ensuring people are viewing the content, even if you only have 20 articles. I talked to a guy yesterday who was working heavily with KLM Airlines, and he said that their knowledge base is actually relatively small because they were only about 30, 40 questions that people ask them. How do I check in? How much luggage do I get? It's such a big organization, you just assume they might have a massive amount of knowledge they need to share, but they don't because the questions are so tightly, and repetitive. So no, there's no goal on number of articles or searches. It's more of just watching trends. This 20%, this 20 times number is just incredible to me when I look at kind of the analytics behind it. That blows my mind. I never would have goaled myself on 20 times, but I'm glad to see it happen.
Wow. Well, Craig, we have another 2 questions that came in. I'm gonna try to limit it. I know we're coming in close on time. David Miller. So that's David Miller from ComplyFile. He's a very happy. This is his words, not mine. Very happy small startup customer of Helpjuice. And David is asking, how do you decide which articles to create a video for, Greg?
Aha, that's a great question. So we started with anything that was a how-to, because I feel that any question you can think of that has a set of steps 1 through 20 is a how-to. How do I tie a bow tie? How do I change an air filter? How do I change my password? How do I turn up the thermostat? Those all have a clear set of steps that you can illustrate using any medium, but video specifically, I guess, in this case. Now, there are other types of things that we do video for. So, for example, if you saw the screenshot here, this hub here actually has informative videos in it too. So about our terminology. What's the definition of this term? Why would I want to use this feature? And it's more descriptive type video. But our main focus is absolutely on the how-to questions. So what we actually do is we have a few people who help us make these videos. They're internal people, and they're very simple. We have a tool that does this within a couple of clicks. There's no editing, uploading. It's all part of our tool. And so it takes us less than 5 minutes to do these videos. All of them are between 30 and 90 seconds long, and we put them up, we embed them immediately. So it's a really quick process, and we're constantly, saying these are the articles, we're flagging them in today in the Google sheet, saying these are the articles we want to cover, and then the team just comes in and picks from the top and goes through and creates the videos, and we just publish them immediately. So, yeah, great question. But I would say start with the how-to because that's the obvious ones that has sets of steps associated with them.
Very nice, very nice. And Craig, we'll do 2 more questions, and then we'll go ahead on a mini conversation between you and I, and then we're going to go ahead on the surprise. So Marco Marquez asks, how do you measure the resolution time? How do you determine the 37% decrease in this KPI?
So this is really not tied to KCS. Our case management tool does this. I suppose there's a really good point made there is that I can't attribute a 37% decrease in time to resolution to 100% to KCS. What I can do is say that I have hired new people over this period of 8 months which in my experience as a support manager generally increases time to resolution because you're hiring and training and trying to get people ramped up. But in the same period of time, we've actually decreased by a huge amount. So while I can't attribute that 37% decrease directly to KCS, I know that it's a huge chunk of it because my new hires were immediately more effective at their jobs and didn't need the heavy training and the ramp up period as much as someone that I was hired, say, 16 months ago. So yeah, but that's not measured within Helpjuice. Certainly, the implementation of Helpjuice into our CRM tool, we can start doing some correlations and things like that. But this is just a fact that the measure we use within our case management tool, and every case management tool has a resolution time metric built into it somehow, has gone down 37% since the start of this project. I hope that answers the question. But yeah, nice. I should fully transparent. It has nothing. This is not specific to the KCS program. It's just in parallel to the KCS program. Being a math geek, it's called correlation, not causation.
Very nice. And so we're going to take on one more question. In the meantime, while we formulate that question and get a good question for Craig, I'm going to ask Craig. So Craig's actually using our Salesforce integration, and I think Vidyard's really built a support powerhouse thanks to Salesforce, and I'd like to ask Craig, what are your thoughts on the Salesforce integration with Helpjuice? Would you recommend moving to Salesforce if you're looking for a new ticketing system, or maybe you already have a big system? Would it make sense to move over to Salesforce?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors in there. So I would say that the Helpjuice integration with Salesforce does what we need it to do 100%. So it helps us link articles, create new articles from within Salesforce, so we don't have to have multiple tools open. It has some neat features where we can, if we know the article exists, we can find it and immediately send that link to the knowledge base article by a copy and paste gesture. It's pretty simplistic that way. So we don't have to do any sort of weird opening windows and copying stuff between web browsers. We never have to leave Salesforce to do our day jobs. Salesforce is a great product. In fact, Vidyard is a huge partner with Salesforce. They're one of our largest customers. We were just at the Dreamforce. We had a huge contingent down there. If you guys are in technology at Dreamforce. So I say the tool is great. I've used it in multiple companies that I've been a member of. But it's also a scale thing. We have the product here. You could do exactly what I've just talked about with Zendesk. You could do it with ServiceNow. None of that's unique. So I would argue that, and I don't want to hurt you here, Emil, but I would argue that I would say your knowledge management system probably should be completely independent of your CRM, because I think you're solving two very different problems. But if you do have Helpjuice today and you want to do this, Salesforce works perfectly for us. We're very happy with the integration. And the metrics, like this metric I showed right here, this is generated because of the Salesforce integration. And this is extremely important to our success with KCS. And just to let you know, when I did my RFP, and granted it was about 12 months ago, 10 months ago, Helpjuice was the only one that had a great way of doing this. Everyone else kind of left you to your own devices to use, your CRM to kind of do metrics and have to, do it on yourself. Whereas Helpjuice had this built right into their integration. So there is a positive to the Salesforce integration there.
Wow, that's very nice of you to say, Craig. Just to let everybody know, this is not a paid promotion. We're not paying Craig to say this thing. I do hope that this is just coming in from Craig's personal experience. So one last question, and then we're going to announce the two surprises. So David Miller came in. David's been on fire today with these good questions. So David Miller from Comply File has asked us, is there one thing that you knew about using Helpjuice as your knowledge base or KCS that you weren't aware from the start that you wish you used from the get-go, Craig?
The newest feature that I came into contact with is the groups feature. So the ability to group your users and set permissions at a group level. That was something I didn't even know existed till very recently. I don't have a large team, but I do want to segregate users into different permission sets based on their roles. So that was something that I wish I had known about up front, and I just wasn't aware of it. That's probably the newest feature. And then the other thing is you know, Neil hinted that he had released a bunch of new stuff today. The biggest one for us, there's now a versioning feature, and I'm super excited to figure out how that works because I think it has a direct use within KCS when I talk about updating in real time, because you can allow your old article to stay there until the new article is published, so that you never actually lose content. You're just kind of constantly just updating as your reviewer has time to review it. So I'm really excited to learn more about that aspect of the product that was just released in the past couple of days.
For sure. And actually, about that, Craig, that's actually one of our newest features, as well as this is the part of the surprise package with why we're unveiling this today at the special webinar. We don't do these webinars very often because it's really hard to create really, really good content and not spin the same stuff that everyone else is doing. And you know, thanks to Craig, we're able to do this today. So the first announcement that we have, or surprise if you will, and it's not a surprise if you've logged on to Helpjuice recently, and that's that Helpjuice 5.0 is out. So after 7 years of development, we've released Helpjuice 5.0. And Helpjuice 5.0, it has a bunch of new features, some of which you won't even see them, you won't even notice them because we haven't made an announcement. We're going to probably do a webinar or something crazy soon. I guess if you consider a webinar crazy. And part of Helpjuice 5.0 is we're going to have article versions, like Craig said. Well, actually not. We already have it. So article versions is a really cool way of saying, you know what, I'm going to work on version 2 of this article while we do this new deployment of the software. So you could have a new version of your knowledge base being prepared while the software for that is being updated, or just as a different version for maybe a different set of customers or something. That's one of the top 2 features. The second thing is new revisions. So you're going to be able to see side by side the changes that are going on through history just by clicking in on the previous revisions and kind of going through. Before, obviously, you couldn't. You'd have to click on it, and then you would see some random change, and that sucked. Third is article templates. So this is a big feature. A lot of you folks asked about this. So no more do you have to rewrite the same article. Now you can save this as an article template and reuse that article template. And then we have meta fields and content segmentation. This is actually a feature that Craig has been really, really eager to see, and I'm sure a lot of you have as well. And that's basically, you can set a bunch of custom fields and then filter based off those custom fields. You can say, I only want people who use my XYZ product to view this part of the knowledge base. So you can really get specific with kind of displaying stuff. So that's about Helpjuice 5.0. We're going to be releasing more documentation around this and more how-to videos, thanks to Craig's advice. And then the second surprise is we're going to have a 20% discount today. I hate these things. I hate saying discounts and whatnot because it sounds salesy. But as you know, December 31st is coming along, which is tax season for a lot of us. And we do have a lot of startup customers as well as large enterprise customers. And I just want to let you guys know that there's going to be a 20% discount for anyone who's interested in upgrading to an annual plan, plus the tax savings that come along to it. So that's 20% rather than the current price that we have. Obviously the tax savings that come onto that. So that's about it, folks. I think we all I think we all really owe Craig a massive thank you for organizing such a nice webinar. The webinar recording will be available. So yes, thank you all for attending, and most sincerely, thank you, Craig, for doing such a great job.
Well, thank you, Emil, and thank you everyone for listening to me talk for 45 minutes. And as I said, I love engaging with people and professionals around the world. So shoot me an email, send me a tweet, whatever you'd like. I'm happy to engage if there's questions. I don't see the chats on my screen right now, so if there was more questions, I'm happy to answer those via email. So shoot me a note. So thanks a lot, and thanks to Emil for asking me to help out with this. I think it was a lot of fun to put together.
Fantastic. Thank you, Craig, and thanks everyone for attending. I'm going to go ahead and end this webinar, and you're going to get a link to download the video.